Hola, ¿qué tal? In this video we're going to revise Unit 2 of the A-Level Spanish topics, El Ciberespacio. As you already know, we'll revise not only the topic itself, but also the grammar and vocabulary that go with it. When it comes to the topic, we'll look at the different phases of the internet, whether technologies have changed things for better or worse, and smartphones, are they really smart? For grammar, we will brush upon the articles, interrogative sentences, and object pronouns, both direct and indirect object pronoun. And finally, we will go over some useful vocabulary. Alright then, let's warm up with some grammar. The grammar today will be easy and quick. Articles are quite straightforward. I'm sure you remember them from GCSE, but it's still my duty to go through them properly. Like in English, Spanish has definite and indefinite articles. Definite articles refer to something specific or already known. In English, we just say the for everything, but in Spanish, the article agrees in gender and number with the noun. They are el for singular masculine, los for plural masculine, or la singular feminine, or las plural feminine. For example, the book would be el libro, while the books would be los libros, or the house would be la casa, or the houses, las casas. Indefinite articles, on the other hand, refer to something non-specific or unknown. In English, is a, an, or some. And Spanish, again, needs to agree in gender and number with the noun. And is masculine singular would be un, masculine plural, some would be unos, feminine singular would be una, feminine plural would be unas. A book would be un libro. Some books, unos libros. A house would be una casa. Some houses, unas casas. That's the general idea, but if you'd like to know more details, such as when we omit articles, how the neutral law works, you will find a grammar link in the description below. Now let's move on to interrogative sentences. We need to distinguish between written and spoken questions in Spanish. In writing, remember to include the upside down question mark at the beginning of the question. In spoken Spanish, it's very, very easy. You simply raise the tone of your voice at the end. Let's look at some examples. For example, the statement would be ¿habla español? The question would be ¿habla español? Or ¿comes carne? ¿Comes carne? Or ¿no quieres sopa? ¿No quieres sopa? Ese, isn't it? Now, question words. You already know most of them, but let's revise a few key points. ¿Quién has a plural form? ¿Quiénes? It is not the same, who are you, than who are they? ¿Quiénes son ellos? ¿Por qué? Two words means why, while ¿por qué? One word means because. ¿Cuál? ¿Cuál also has a plural cuáles? And watch out for cuánto, as it needs to agree in gender and number with the noun it refers to. Cuánto or cuánta, cuántos, cuántas. Finally, I remind you that que, it doesn't just mean what. It can also translate as which or even how, depending on the context. I won't go into too much detail here because this video will become far too long. But if you want to explore Spanish questions more deeply, check the link to my full video on that topic. Now let's one last thing before we move on. Questions with prepositions. When we have a question with the preposition at the end, okay, pause. What's a preposition? A preposition is a small word like about, with, for, from, etc. and they show relationships like location, time, or direction. All right, back to the questions. When the question ends with the preposition in English, in Spanish, that preposition must go at the beginning of the question. For example, the question, what are you thinking about? Would become in Spanish, about what are you thinking? Let's see some examples. So, sobre qué estás pensando, or who are you going with? No, with who, con quién vas a ir, or what is this project for? No, for what, para qué es el proyecto, or where are you from? De dónde eres, or which movie did you go to? Did you go to? Sorry. ¿Cuál película quieres ir? Or which candidate will they vote for? No, for what? For which candidate? Forgetting this can be a serious mistake in the exam. And finally, if you are unsure about tricky questions such as what's something like, what if, or so what, or the many how questions, again, check the link in the description for the detailed video. Now, what's next? Object pronouns. So, what exactly is an object pronoun? Let's look at an example first. I can say, I see Maria, or I can say, I see her. That her is the object pronoun. It replaces the noun to avoid repetition. In Spanish, we have two types, direct and indirect object pronoun. The direct object pronoun is the person or thing that receives the action of the verb directly. So the direct pronouns are me is me, you is te, him or her is le for both, or lo specifically masculine and la specifically feminine, us is nos, you all is us, and again them is les for both masculine or feminine, and los for masculine, las for feminine. The indirect object answers to whom or for whom the action is done. The pronouns are me, te, le, nos, os, les. Notice that for him or her, you don't have option. It's just le. And likewise for them, it's just les. Let's go to the position of object pronouns. If there's one verb, the pronoun goes before the verb. I agree, it's weird. So it would be do les oyes, you hear them, or Carmen read it, Carmen lo lee, I see you, yo te veo. I know, weird. And when we have two verbs, we can place it before or after the verb. For example, you have to do it could be lo tienes que hacer o tienes que hacerlo. I'm doing it. Lo estoy haciendo o estoy haciéndolo. And be careful with this. After preposition, I'm now repeating what a preposition is. Spanish uses the normal subject forms. With the exception of me becomes me in Spanish, you becomes ti. The rest, him, her, us, you all, are the normal subject forms, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellos. And we have an exception of the exception with con, with. They change to contigo, with you, and conmigo, with me. Let's see some examples. Estoy pensando sobre ella. I'm thinking about her, ella. O está haciéndolo por ellos. He or she is doing it for them. It's like a full day. ¿Por qué no vienes con nosotros? Why are not coming with us? Con nosotros, like with we. O este es un paquete, this is a parcel for you, para ti. And now let's move on to indirect object pronouns. They use to indicate to whom or for whom something is done. Notice that with these verbs, you don't choose between la or lo. It's always le or les in the plural. We have verbs that always trigger these indirect object pronouns. For example, comprar, traer, dar, enseñar. Let's see some examples. Me compré un coche. I bought a car for me. Te traigo flores. I bring you flowers. O siempre nos da regalos. O te estoy explicando la lección. I'm explaining to you the lesson. A very common mistake involves the verb decir, to say or to tell. In English, we say I told her, but in Spanish, it's wrong to say la dije. It must be le dije or les dije, in this case, la verdad. Okay, now let's go to learn about the position of these pronouns. As with the direct pronouns, there's one verb. We have to place it before the verb. For example, I will write you. It would be yo te escribiré, or Carmen explains to us. Carmen nos explica, or you tell me. Tú me cuentas. However, if we have two verbs, as you know now, we can place it before the two verbs. Tienes que decir o tienes que decirle. Or for example, I'm telling you would be te estoy diciendo o estoy diciéndote. What happens when we have both direct and indirect pronoun? Well, in that case, the indirect goes first, followed by the direct. And the position? As we have just one verb before. For example, do you give it to me? Me lo das. And when we have two verbs, both pronouns appear before or after the two verbs, but the order stays the same. For example, can you give it to me? It would be me lo puedes dar, or puedes dármelo. But wait, there is a final twist. When you have le or les before lo, la, los, or las, le or les becomes se. Let's see some examples. For example, if I say I give it to her, le lo doy, or I give it to them, le los doy, or she won't tell it to him, no le lo dirá. This happens not only because it sounds weird, but because Lelo and Lela means stupid, and we don't want that. So this le is replaced for se lo doy, no se lo doy, or se lo mandaré. However, this can sound a bit vague, so we often add a clarification like a él o a ella, a Ana, a mis hermanos, a Pedro, a Mónica. So afterwards, otherwise we don't know who are we talking about. And now, enough grammar for today. Let's move on to the topic, el ciberespacio. It's quite interesting. Wait and see. Let's explore first the different phases of the internet. Let's take a look at how Spain's digital world is evolving in 2025. How do Spaniards connect to the internet? These days, 9 out of 10 Spaniards use their mobile phones to get online. way ahead of laptops and desktop computers. And how often are they connected? About 27% of users spend between 4 and 8 hours online every day, while 24% are connected for 2 to 4 hours. Only 5% use the internet for less than half an hour a day. And more than half of Spaniards now have unlimited data plans, and 70% have 5G on their mobiles. What are the most popular online services? Okay, email tops the list, used by nearly 93% of people, followed closely by web browsing, instant messaging, and social media. And how much time do people spend on social networks? A fair bit. Around 30% spend over an hour a day scrolling. Almost 6% are on for between 4 and 8 hours, and 1.5% spend more than 8 hours a day on social platforms. Their favorites? Let's have a look. The most popular apps and social networks are: WhatsApp is the #1 messaging app, absolutely essential for daily communication. According to Spain's National Commission for Markets and Competition, a massive 93% of people use WhatsApp every single day. Instagram, coming in second. Instagram is used by over 78% of internet users, according to Tracebits. It's also the go-to platform for following influencers and lifestyle content. Facebook, in third place, is still going strong with 69% of people using it. TikTok has overtaken X, formerly Twitter, and now ranks fourth, used by 53% of internet users. It's also the fastest growing social network in Spain. Time spent on each platform. When it comes to time spent online, TikTok and Instagram dominate, with TikTok often pulling ahead. Facebook still gets a decent amount of time, though less than those two giants. Meanwhile, X, or Twitter, tends to see more occasional use, mainly for catching up on news and trending conversations. Let's have a look at other platforms. YouTube remains the most visited platform for watching videos, and its popularity just keeps growing. Telegram has climbed to fifth place, now ahead of X. And finally, Facebook Messenger and Pinterest and LinkedIn are still popular choices, though they're used less frequently than the top contenders. But we were speaking about the digital landscape in Spain in 2025, so let's go back. This is not in your AQA book, but obviously we need to talk about artificial intelligence. Awareness of AI has grown since the last year. It is curious that the AI users usually describe it using words like dangerous, the future, interesting, useful, and a bit unsettling. Not surprisingly, younger people between 14 and 24 are most familiar with it. So, which AI tools are most used? ChatGPT leads by far, with almost 78% of users. Then come Copilot and Gemini. Among around 41% use AI for image generation and 14% for programming. We'll see what the future holds. And what are the main concerns? Okay, as for the internet in general, the top complaints are too many ads, privacy and confidentiality issues, slow speeds, and security concerns. When it comes to IE, people's biggest worries are about unethical use, lack of regulation, misinformation, loss of creativity, a decline in education, job losses, and the environmental impact. In short, Spain's digital life in 2025 is faster, more mobile, and more AI-driven than ever. But it's also raising new questions about ethics, privacy, and how to balance technology with real life. Let's explore now if the new technologies are for the better or the worse. How technology has transformed Spain and Hispanoamerica. Let's take a journey through how technology has evolved from a luxury for a few to an essential part of everyday life and economy. In Spain, the use of technology has gone from being a luxury to something completely essential. Back then, in the late 90s, technology in Spain was expensive, limited, and mostly used for business. Let's start with the internet. Connections were slow, using dial-up modems. You don't know what I am talking about. Ask your parents. And pay-per-minute plans, which made the internet use occasional rather than constant. Telephony. The landline was the main way to communicate at home. Mobile phones were big, expensive, and only used for calls. Entertainment. TV, radio, and cinema dominated leisure time. Game consoles were just beginning to appear, and digital content barely existed. Computers. Personal computers were rare in household and mainly used at offices for specific tasks. Digital skills weren't a requirement in most jobs. Fast forward to today, Spain is one of the most connected countries in Europe. Regarding internet, Spain leads in fiber optic coverage, with most homes enjoying high-speed connections. 4G and 5G networks now reach nearly the entire population. About devices, almost everyone owns a smartphone. 98% of Spaniards use their phones to go online. These devices have replaced cameras, maps, and even compasses. Social life. Around 80% of people use social media every day to communicate, stay informed, and socialize, completely changing how young people connect. Regarding work and education, remote work and online learning are now normal, thanks to video calls and digital collaboration tools, a trend accelerated by the pandemic. And finally, e-commerce. Online shopping has exploded, reshaping consumer habits and creating new business opportunities. Let's move on to the Hispanoamerica. In Hispanoamerica, technology has also evolved dramatically, from limited and expensive access to mass adoption. But despite this progress, it still faces big challenges with digital inequality. In the late 90s, access to technology in Latin America was unequal and costly. Let's start with internet. It arrived later and was slower than in developed countries, limited mostly to universities and government institutions. Telephony, mobile technology, early mobile phones were expensive, bulky, and used mainly by the elite. Most communication relied on landlines. Personal computers were rare, used mainly by large companies or universities. Most people had no access to digital training. Tech infrastructure was underdeveloped, concentrated in big cities, leaving rural areas almost disconnected. Today, Hispanoamerica has made huge strides in digital access, but the gap hasn't completely closed. These countries now exceed the global average in internet penetration, but rural and low-income areas still lag behind. Smartphones have become the main gateway to the internet, democratizing access to information and digital services. Digital business. The pandemic pushed companies of all sizes to go digital, boosting e-commerce and new online business models. And social media and messaging apps have transformed communication, entertainment, and even civil participation. Organizations like the Inter-American Development Bank are working to expand internet access to remote and rural regions. Despite the progress, Hispanoamerica still faces several key challenges. Inequality. Rural, indigenous, and low-income communities remain the most disconnected. High costs. Internet access and devices are still expensive compared to average incomes. Data protection. Privacy regulations are uneven and often weaker than in Europe. More investment is needed in digital education to ensure everyone can fully benefit from the digital age. In short, technology has completely reshaped Spain and Hispanoamerica, connecting millions, transforming economies, and changing the way people live, work, and communicate. But as digital access expands, the next big challenge is ensuring that everyone, everywhere, can take part in this new connected world. Let's move on to the last theme. Smartphones. Are they really smart? Let's learn first about regulation and policy. Commercial calls. Under the new law from 2025, all unsolicited commercial calls from mobile prefixes 6 and 7 are now banned. It also forbids using false or international numbers that appear to be Spanish. Driving. Penalties for using your mobile while driving are now harsher. Fines can reach up to 500 euros and drivers can lose up to 6 license points. Education. The ban on mobile phones has been extended across many secondary schools. Let's pause for a moment here. Under Spain's responsible digitalization plan, starting from the 2025-2026 school year, mobile phones won't be allowed at any stage of compulsory education, not in classrooms, not in any other school spaces, even for education purposes. Smartwatches will also be banned among pupils. 68% of teachers and school leaders support a total ban of mobile phones in secondary education. 89% say the current restrictions have already had a positive results in attention, behavior, and academic performance. Between 63% and 66% of teachers haven't used phones in any classroom activity this school year. And let's not forget, Castilla-La Mancha was the pioneer. Back in 2014, the regional government was the first in Spain to ban mobile phones and communication devices in schools. Well done, Manchegos! And what about usage? Well, mobile phone use is almost universal. 99.5% of Spanish households have one, and 98% of young people aged 16 to 24 use their phone every day. Screen time. The average Spaniard now spends 4 hours and 22 minutes per day on their smartphone, and that number keeps growing. Children. Around 60% of children under 15 already own a mobile phone, and among those over 15, that figure rises to 96%. Interestingly, mobile penetration is slightly higher in single-parent households, 74% compared to two-parent families, that is 69%. And I was wondering why mobile phone use is higher in single-parent households. After looking into it, I found two main reasons: communication and safety. Finally, let's look at the sustainability and technology. From June 2025, all phones sold in Spain and across the EU must comply with new rules of sustainability, durability, and safety. Let's break down quickly. Stronger and longer-lasting batteries. Manufacturers will be required to ensure that batteries first survive at least 1,000 full charging cycles without dropping below 80% of the original capacity, and these batteries can be easily replaced either by authorized technicians or, in some cases, by the users themselves. Physical and environmental resistance. Phones will need certification for water, dust and drop resistance. Software updates guarantee for 5 years. This means phones will have longer lifespan and users won't need to replace them just because of a worn out battery or outdated software. E-waste and recycling. Every year, around 20 million phones are thrown away in Spain. But thanks to the new EU standards, the use of recyclable and biodegradable materials will be encouraged. These measures put the European Union at the forefront of consumer protection and sustainable technology. And that's the latest look at the Spanish mobile and digital landscape in 2025. Now let's move on to some vocabulary. To finish off, I would like to comment some things. First of all, in your vocabulary you will find the word portátil, meaning portable. And that's right, but we call portátil also laptop. When speaking about social media, we need to say it in Spanish in plural. Las redes sociales. La inteligencia artificial. This term wasn't in your vocabulary, but now it is, so learn it. And remember, you can save and waste time and money ahorrar o malgastar tiempo y dinero. Estar en contacto is to be in touch. Regarding the expression estar fuera de onda, oh my god, we use it in the 90s, so it's very, very old-fashioned. Don't use it, don't bother to learn it. And the words for computer and mobile, remember that el ordenador is Spanish from Spain, and la computadora is the Hispanic American term. Likewise, el móvil is Spanish, el celular is Hispanic American. And that's everything about El Ciberespacio and how it changes the way we live, work, and connect. Now, take advantage of it and hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Gracias. Hasta luego.